the blue moon. It was amazing. Okay, it's one more minute. Okay.
So you're live over the internet right now.
Am I really? Good morning. Am I? Okay. Let's start this all over. Am I live? Yes. Good morning. This is the end of daylight savings, or is it the beginning? End? It's the end. So everybody had another hour of sleep today. How are you feeling? You get another hour of sleep. Happy, today is All Saints Day. And so we want to just honor all the saints on this planet and all the saints that live among us and the saint within you. I want to thank everybody who did this amazing job on Friday night for a bonfire out in the front pasture that we have. It was the hugest bonfire and the most beautiful bonfire I have ever been to. And there was two. There was one out in the field, and then there was one around the Science of Mind emblem over on the side by all the wine and beer. It was just delightful. People wore their masks, and I see Carlos is here, and he helped build that fire. Thank you, Carlos. First, they came out and got all the brush around all over the yard and started burning that first. And then they put these huge logs in it. It was like the logs came up to like this far. It was so cool. So Skip and Pam did a lot of it. Pam did all the decorating for out there, and it was just an amazing evening. Singers came with their guitars, and people got to share. It was a great beginning to November. And we also celebrated Coach, who is buried here in the front yard. And yeah, we put a tombstone on. We picked it up because we want to stand it up, so we're afraid it might break if people stand on it. But there's another heart-shaped rock that was dedicated to Coach that someone painted, so it's out there. And actually, in the Jewish tradition, everybody brings a rock and puts it on the grave. So we had one person do that. They brought a rock. So if you ever come on a Sunday or during the week, bring a rock and just put it on Coach's burial ground. So my name is Mary Jean DeRusha, and I want to thank you all around the world for watching us today and knowing that your life is changing in marvelous ways. I know that we're guided by the divine intelligence. We are here so that we let go of anything that causes us angst. Are you ready to do that? Let go of anything, any idea, anything, because everything actually is unfolding in perfect divine order. Even the stuff we don't like, and especially the stuff we do like. It's all in divine order. So the Center for Spiritual Living, our mission statement that we have is to open up and experience that power of spirit. And yeah, somebody must have taken it because they must have wanted it more than I did. Inspire, awaken, and transform lives. That's really easy. I should just carve it in the top. If somebody was here the other night, your reading glasses are here. If you left them, call the office and we'll keep them for you. So now we have a few announcements. I'm going to have Marcia Walton come forward.
I am subbing for Tom Moore today. Just a couple of short announcements, but they're important. Classes are back. Class is back. I know we're all excited about that. Reverend Larry and Reverend Mary Jean invite you to join in as they teach The 3 Questions by Don Miguel Ruiz. The combination of Don Miguel and Mary Jean and Reverend Larry is amazing. I love Don Miguel Ruiz. Classes will start online on Zoom for 3 consecutive Tuesdays from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., starting Tuesday, November 10th. Class number 2 on the 17th, and the final class on the 24th. The cost for this class series is only $40. That's like 6 hours of class for $40. That's not very much money. So if you're interested in taking part, get your book ASAP. I ordered mine on Amazon yesterday, and it'll be here Monday, so you got plenty of time. And you need to read the chapters about the first question, which start on page 23. Class registration information can be found on our website, www.cslstl.org. So sign up early. And our last announcement is simply a reminder to encourage you to continue, if you have begun, and to start, if you haven't, your Transformation Through Thanksgiving, a 40-day journey, which is a simple activity of just journaling 10 things every day that you're thankful for. As said by Melody Beattie, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It makes sense of our past, brings peace to today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. So the idea is simply to make time each day to take a few minutes to write down 10 things you have gratitude for. I do mine in my phone, actually. I've got a list of like 400 that have accumulated over the years. And just watch what becomes of your gratitude and attitude within those 40 days and watch the blessings unfold in your life. So thank you. Now Mary Jean's going to lead us in prayer.
This morning, I am your prayer team leader. And I've already said this, but I want to acknowledge again Skip and Pam for the amazing Friday night bonfire Halloween party. It was fabulous. And it was nice sitting around. A lot of us wore masks and were able to just gather together outside and watch that amazing moon rise. I would like to share with you a prayer. Actually, I have two prayers here by Marianne Williamson. And so just close your eyes for a minute. They're prayers for our country. Dear God, we come together, different perspectives, different politics, different cultures, to ask that you heal our country. We surrender to you the thoughts and attitudes we now hold and empty our minds that they might be filled by you. Show us to each other as you would have us see each other. Show us the world as you would have us see the world. Guide our listening as you would have us hear each other. Teach us and inspire us. Use us on your behalf. That's from Marianne Williamson, Healing the Soul of America. And she has another one that I think is beautiful that I want to share also. May this country once again become a light unto the nations of hope and goodness and peace and freedom. May violence and darkness be cast out of our midst. May hatred no longer find fertile ground in which to grow here. Make all of us feel God's grace upon us. Reignite, dear God, the spirit of truth in our hearts. May our nation be given a new light, the sacred fire that once shone so bright from shore to shore. May we be repaired. May we be forgiven. May our children be blessed. May we be renewed. Dear God, please bless America. Amen. So may we all hold that in our hearts, the blessings on the United States of America. Declare peace. Declare harmony. Declare divine right action, knowing that whatever happens is part of a sacred plan to awaken our consciousness. So I know, and as I offer a blessing and prayer to each one of us, I know greater good is unfolding. I accept it. I honor it. I believe in it. I cherish it. And I give thanks for it. And so I let it be. And so it is. Is there a thought for the day, Larry? Okay. Okay, music. We have amazing music. Yes, Anna and Jared. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Good morning. Blackbird singing in a dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of the dark black night. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to be free.
Anandra, that was so beautiful. Thank you. I know you have plans to be going back to Bulgaria at some point. I hope not for a while. And anyway, I love it when you're here. Thank you. And today I want to just introduce our speaker. It's Reverend Larry DeRusha. A lot of you know and love him. And come on up and enjoy his wisdom and his humor and his light. Here is Larry. Take it away.
I'm not used to speaking through a mask like you are. Good morning. Wow. Do you think the world is getting too serious? Well, certainly the media has gotten serious, but I think all of us have gotten a little too serious in our lives. So let's talk about why we seem to be so serious and we seem to be struggling so much and why we seem to have, somebody's phone's running. Why all the struggle? I mean, if you just take a look at what's going on in politics, that's only one particular area in which there's a lot of struggle going on. Amma, who's the hugging saint from India, tells a story about Krishna. And Krishna was a saint he was a saint. I don't know if he was the hugging saint because that was about 1,000 years before Christ. But she tells the story about Krishna, who had gone to a territory nearby, and he conquered the territory because it was called the Devil King, and they were doing awful things. So he conquered that territory, and he took the 16,000 women who were held captive and enslaved back to his territory, and he married all of them. And the reason why he married all of them is because in India in that day, you could not do anything to a wife. In other words, they couldn't be captured, they couldn't be slaves, they couldn't do the work that anybody else had told them they had to do, except for the husband. He did that to protect all of them. Well, the gopis, which is what they refer to, the 16,000 women, some of the gopis were going to the stream to get water for the village. And they got there and they began to load up all of the water in the pots on the top of their heads, as many of you have seen them do, and still do today, by the way, in some villages. And they looked over and they saw Krishna playing. And so they yelled to him, come help us, come help us. And he ignored them. And he went on playing. And they're like, I wonder what's going on with him. So they yelled at him again, come on, this is a heavy burden we have to carry. And so he turned and ran the other way. And they were like, what's going on here? So they finally get all loaded up, and each of them helped each other get the pots on top of their heads. And off they went to the village. When they got to the village storage area, there was Krishna standing in the doorway. And they were like, where were you? We needed you to help us because these are heavy burdens. He said, it's not for me to put more burdens on you. It's for me to take them off of you. That story is actually profound because what Krishna is saying is, we have all loaded up our heads full of burdens. We're worried about everything. Our minds are running at unlimited breakneck speeds. Every little thing becomes a new obsession in our mind, and we have to think about it over and over and over. In the middle of the night, we think about it. In the morning, we think about it. The mind in current civilization has become toxic. It's overflowing with all kinds of obsessiveness, and it's driving people crazy, and it's dividing us inside, and we're experiencing things that society hasn't experienced in a long time. If you remember, back even 200 years, they didn't have all the information we have today. Most of the information 200 or 300 years ago came from whatever was going on in the village. And it wasn't much. It was like, how are the crops? What's going on with the crops? Or sometimes the king would say, there may be an invasion. We don't know what's going on. The people just went back to doing what they were doing during the day. But they weren't obsessed with thinking about everything that was happening. Today, we are obsessed with everything that's happening, and we're inundated every moment by media or somebody telling us what the media is telling us, right? Friends are telling us what the media said, that they heard from friends that the media said. And the chain is going telephone. Remember that game, telephone? And at the end of the line, somebody said, oh, by the way, did you hear? And it's nothing like what actually was on. We're going through that now. And what's happening is people are getting sicker. And the reason for it is the mind. What does Ernest Holmes say about that? He says, an untrained mind is dangerous. The power of a trained mind is what Ernest Holmes taught his entire life. You need to train the mind so that the mind is doing what you want it to do, or it will just go off and do everything it wants to. It's now going off and doing everything it's wanting to because we don't even know that we can train this mind. And so the ego mind just generates thoughts. As many of you know, it'll generate a thought saying, well, this is what you should do, and then when it doesn't work, it goes, why'd you do that? It's always taking both sides at different times. It's just noise. And we've got so much noise in the world today that we can't even feel the truth of what's happening. It reminds me of the burdens that we carry, of the story of the man who was on the train in India. And if you know India, everywhere they go is on trains. Mary Jean and I were on one of the trains in India going up to what used to be a village up in the mountains where a lot of the saints came from. And the smell of smoke was amazing. As the windows would open, it'd be like, whoa, because they're using wood-burning engines in some cases. So this man is on the train, and he's standing, and he's got his luggage on his head, and he's crying. and he's crying, help me, help me. So one of the people said, what are you doing? He says, I have such a heavy burden to carry. Why do you have your luggage on your head? Well, I only paid for a ticket for me. Oh, really? The person said, but you don't need a separate ticket for your luggage. It's part of what you paid for. And he goes, oh no, I have to carry, I didn't buy 2 tickets. The point of that story is the train is like the divine. It's going. We're on the train in a journey, and yet we're carrying all this baggage on our head, and we don't think we can put it down. We need to let go of this. We need to let go of all this craziness that's going on, all the divisiveness. I was talking with Tracy at the fire pit the other night, and we were talking about communicating with each other. That communicating with each other now on topics is difficult. Everybody's entrenched in their position. And I was saying that if you look at a person whose profession is to communicate in a way that is successful, guess what it is? Hostage negotiators. They have like a 90-some% success rate. And why is that? It's because they follow a very simple formula. The formula is first get on the phone or whatever and make sure you understand what's happening. Talking to the person and listening what is happening. And then the next thing is to find some middle ground. Middle ground meaning they agree and we agree on something. Oh, and it's not the biggest issue. It's some small issue. Oh, we can agree on that. That's great. And then you begin to build rapport from there. And then you want to have a position where you're not telling or demanding something from the other person, but what you're doing is you're asking them, what do they want? But you're asking in a very specific way. You're giving the other person a menu. In other words, you're giving them choices. Mary Jean and I years ago taught a class on relationship, and one of the things that we taught was that the man should give the woman choices, like, oh, we're going to go out for dinner, and if the guy goes, hey, we're going for hamburgers, that isn't going to work very well. She's not going to be too happy. But if we go, let's go to dinner, and gee, there's a Mexican restaurant over here, and there's sushi over there, and there's whatever and whatever, the moment you see her face light up, that's the answer. That's where we're going. Well, in hostage negotiations, it's like that. Give them choices so that they don't feel like you're demanding, but they get to choose. You're not telling them what to do, but you're also not doing a hands-off thing. You're guiding them in a way, and that way the conversation continues instead of it constantly being slammed down and shut down. And I watch this today in all political discourses. Everybody is shutting everybody else down. I want you to believe what I believe so that then I'm okay. That's what's going on all the time. Where is it getting us? Does anybody see the kind of things that's going on with politics out there? Yeah, are you taking a position? Yeah, you're standing in a position and then you're demanding everybody else meet that position, and how's that working for you? Perfect, you have one friend. The big issue is that we are so passionate about the position that we're taking that we're not meeting them halfway. We're not giving them an opportunity to engage in the conversation. We're telling them this is what they're supposed to believe, and guess what? That's not working. And yet, we could give them a menu of things like, hey, do you agree that we shouldn't have violence in the world because that's dangerous for everybody? Sure, most people would agree with that. Not everyone. So if we can find middle ground, we can start the rapport. And when we have the rapport, we can now engage at a level of conversation without our mind going crazy trying to figure out how to position them, manipulate them, and make them do what we want them to do. And we've got a lot of that going on. I was I lived in San Diego when I was a teenager, and when I was 18, 19 years old, I used to go to Balboa Park, which is like Forest Park here. And I would walk the park. One day I was walking through the park, and I happened to notice over next to the Chinese pavilion, they had not a World's Fair, but an exhibition there. And they had these homes and cultures that were all around the park, and so there was different nations. And out in front of the Chinese pavilion, there was this man sitting next to a tree, and he had just enough of a stomach that he could set a rice cup on it, and he could eat with his sticks, his chopsticks. And he would carefully just lift it up, and if I don't even know how they do that, because I have to shovel it in, because I can't lift anything with it. He would just back and forth. I thought, wow. That was so intriguing to me for some reason that I sat down and I watched him eat. And he was absolutely, completely, totally focused on what he was doing. And so I moved a little closer, and each time I moved, he would just raise an eye and look at me, and then back to what he was doing. And finally, with his eyes, he motioned me over. And so I came over, and he motioned me to sit down, and I sat down. And not a word was said. Not a word. And we just sat there, and I was like enthralled. And about, I don't know, half an hour or something like that, this couple came over, and he got up, and they were speaking Chinese, so I didn't know what they were saying. And he began to show them how to do Tai Chi. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And he looked at me and looked at them, and he wants me to come over and join in. Well, I was really clumsy and had no idea what was going on. I just tried to follow as best I could. Day after day after day after day, I went there. After about 6 months, I pretty much got the hang of it, was doing well with it, and we had probably 20 or 30 people there. And somebody asked him to teach at the junior college. Now, mind you, he hadn't spoken a word to anybody other than to the couple. And so we went to the junior college, I think it was, nearby, or the gymnasium, whatever it was, and there was probably 30 or 40 of us in there doing Tai Chi. And this lady came in, was speaking Chinese to him, and obviously knew him, and said, show them your exercises. And she was saying something to him in Chinese, and then she turned to us and said, he does this amazing thing of exercises. And he was not really happy to do it, but he finally relinquished, and he said, something to her, and then he sat for a second in the middle of the room in a lotus position, and then he what I call flew up and began this series of moves now mind you, this man is 80 years old. He's moving at what I thought was the speed of light. And he was going, and within about 3 or 4 minutes, he was done. I found out he did about 120 different moves during that process, one of which he was off the ground for what seemed like an eternity. How he could fly like that, I have no idea. So afterwards, I went over and I sat next to him. And the lady came over to me and sat next to me. And she says, he really wants you to know a few things. And I said, oh, okay, that's good. I said, who is he? She said, well, he was a Shaolin monk in China until Mao took over. And then he was exiled. And he was exiled and he went to Hong Kong. And from Hong Kong, he came to the United States. And he had been traveling the country for a number of years, and he ended up there in San Diego. And I said, wow, that's quite an amazing story. And I said, the only thing I know about Shaolin is a television series that had come out right about that same time with David Carradine. And it was all about Shaolin. So the exercises he was doing was Shaolin exercises. So the first thing that she interpreted for me was, your mind is too busy. I said, that's what he's telling me? She said, yeah, your mind is too busy. You cannot do what needs to be done with a busy mind. I thought, okay. And she said, so she goes on and interprets, whenever you're doing any of the exercises, you have to have no mind. I was like, wow, no mind. Can you imagine what's that like? No mind. Removing the baggage off of the top of your head and putting it down on the divine train. That's what he's saying. So I went through the whole process for, I don't know, another year or so before I moved on. He lived to be 100 years old, and he continued teaching Tai Chi until the day that he sat down in the lotus position and he was gone. Isn't that amazing? I'm thinking of learning the lotus position again. So I was impressed with the fact that he didn't need to say a lot. There was something about him and his countenance that communicated more than the words did. And when he said, your mind is too busy, I really recognized what he was saying, because I'm sure you've had that experience of where somebody says something and you repeat it in your mind, and then you repeat it again and again and again, and then you take issue with it, or then you expand upon it, or you change it, and then there are 5 other thoughts that have gotten in between those, and it just goes like, you know, dots trying to connect themselves in the universe. We get so confused and we get so hung up in our own ideas of what's real and what's true, and we forget that the universe is the ultimate truth. The power is in the universe, and those like this teacher understood from the place of highest of consciousness that the universe is always unfolding exactly the way it needs to unfold, and it will always unfold that way. And the more we worry about it, and the more we struggle with it, and the more that we take issue with it, and the more we resist it, it doesn't change it. But the only thing that you can do is you can change yourself. You can change yourself and let go of all of the baggage that you're carrying. How many of you are carrying baggage? Yeah. How many of you are worried about it when you wake up in the morning? You're worried about something when you wake up in the morning, or you turn the news on, or you talk to a friend, and pretty soon your mind has already generated a whole new world that day just for you. And it's all busyness, and it's all noise, and it's not getting you a ticket to the destination. It's getting you to a rest stop. In India, when they used to carry all of the food and the things on top of their head that they were going to the village, they had platforms along the road so that you could stop and rest and let your burdens down. And it's a great metaphor for we have to stop and rest and let those burdens that we have down, put them down. I think that the hardest thing for me is that the universe is all one. True? That's the basis of what we teach. Consciousness is all there is. We have choice. Our choice is in what we are aware of and how we apply that to what we're aware of in the outer world. Our greatest choice is what takes place in the inner world. Now, if your mind is so busy and so engaged in all the nonsense, how much time are you spending inside understanding the truth of who you are, aligning with the principle of the universe that there's only one, and that the one is unfolding exactly the way it's supposed to unfold? And what is is not going to change because your mind is racing away, making new decisions for it. It's going to be what it is. And as Byron Katie says, when you want the moment that is to be different than it is, you're suffering. Yes? Yeah, always. So the great thing that this teacher gave me was, you can flow. And that secret to flowing is get out of your head. Stop all of that. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be making decisions that need to be made. There are rational decisions that need to be made. But how often, especially in today's world, how often are we constantly contradicting our own decision, struggling with our own decision, worried about what are others going to think about my decision? How are they going to react? All of that stuff. You make your decision based on what you feel inside to be the truth for you. That's how you make your decisions. Not the truth from the ego standpoint, the truth from the power that is, as Ernest Holmes says, within you at the center of your being, which moves and has its being in and through you. And as we ignore that, we get wrapped up in the world. And the world is crazy, if that's what you believe it to be. Because everything that shows up out here is reflecting back to you what you have going on inside. Yes? Yeah, so take a deep breath. Because the next thing that I learned from this teacher was, you gotta laugh. He looked at me and he told me I was too serious. And I don't laugh enough. How many of you are laughing enough? First thought that comes into your head, laugh. Ready? 1, 2, 3, laugh. Even if you have to struggle and pretend that you're laughing, laugh. As we know from some of the people who have done research on this subject, laughing is the best medicine. Because laughter changes the hormones and the structure of the chemistry in the body, and it improves your wellness. I know from when I had my death experience from cancer that I learned that about 2 weeks before the incident happened, and I was watching every comedy show that was on television, and every person who was telling jokes I was listening to. And it was amazing. So you can lighten your life by just allowing yourself to feel more free and open and laugh about things. Laugh about all of the silly things that are going on in the world. Your life is going to improve instead of constantly going downhill because you're buying into all the nonsense. Yes? Can you promise to laugh at least once a day? Yeah? Okay. So here's the big thing. If the train is the divine, then we're all on that train going to a destination. If we're all on that train going to a destination, the divine can carry your burdens better than you can. And if you give up the struggle and lay that down on the floor of the train, it's going to go too, but the divine is going to carry it, not you. And when you laugh, you make the trip better for you and for everybody around you. When you're light, you make the trip better for you and everybody around you. Does that make any sense at all, what I was saying? Okay. So I'm going to challenge you that this is the week. This is the week where you're going to get out of your head, give it to the divine, and you're going to laugh your way into the voting booth and out. Yes? And everybody you see in line, it's your opportunity to laugh with them, to help them feel better. Because it's all about selfless service. And what greater way to do that than just smile with somebody? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Did anybody leave these glasses at the fire pit the other night? Oh, some black ones and red ones. All right, so this is our opportunity to give. I'm going to ask Tony to come forward as we bless. Oh, somebody had the red ones? Great. Let's just bless whatever the gift is. Let's just know that this center is guided by the divine, and whatever is needed for our fullest expression, our expansion, our inspiration, that it now is known in the mind of God, and we allow ourselves to be part of the building of consciousness, the inspiring, the creativity, and that each one of us right now is that power of God in action. So I bless your gift, knowing that you are prosperous. Give from the prosperity, give with joy, and allow Spirit to return to you all good. I bless your gift to the greatest and highest good. And so I let it be, and so it is. Amen. Thank you, Tony. And now we have the most dynamic duo, Anna and Jared.
Thank you. Tell me what you see, how it affects me. Do you wait for the change to come, or are you the one that sets yourself free? Don't we all say we're misunderstood? The world is so fast in its movement. How about take it slow, enjoy the show, leave the rest to the unknown. Oh, it's so easy to just lean into it, and I bet that you knew it. I feel a heart vibration where between you and me is a connection, is the perfect vibration. Take time seriously and then it slow, speeds up and then it's gone, gone. Take it seriously and then you don't, just a reminder and now is all out. How about take it slow, enjoy the show, leave the rest to the unknown. Oh, it's so easy to just lean into it, and I bet that you knew it. I feel a high vibration where between you and me is a connection, is the perfect vibration. Bring on the vibration. How about take it slow, enjoy the show, leave the rest to the unknown. between you and me is a connection, is the perfect vibration. It's just so easy to just lean into it. It is the perfect vibration. It's just so easy. How about take it slow, enjoy the show and leave the rest to the unknown. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
I'm going to take that little cat face off so we can meditate. If you'd like to just close your eyes, and wherever you are, let's just join in that consciousness of oneness around this planet, declaring and knowing perfection. And knowing that that divine energy that is my life and your life right now guides us to a peaceful resolution, to loving, harmonious possibilities, that we let go of any anger or discord and instead stand in that light of oneness, blessing each person who agrees with us and blessing each person that disagrees with us, knowing that we are lights of spirit. We are here to shift the consciousness on this planet. And everything that's happening right now is part of the shift. So that we awaken that divine energy. We awaken to the truth of who we are. Turn away from what we don't want to see. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it. And move into the fullness of spirit, the wholeness, the light. Knowing that we have come here to shift consciousness, and to do that, we have to let go of blame, criticism, judgment. We have to be the light that we want to experience on this planet. It is happening, and we're part of it. We've been called for this moment to be all we can be, to be the love that we are. It's been said that God is love, and we are made in the image and likeness of God. So we are that power of love in action. Let's stop looking at the mistakes people make or the ignorance that people live out of, and just declare it part of the ongoing journey that teaches us to be more loving, more kind, more open, more forgiving. Allowing us to open our hearts and be that amazing being of light that we came onto this planet to be. For we've been called for this special time. We've been called for this shift in consciousness that says we are one. We are guided into greater good. And we allow ourselves to open to that right now. Right now, if there's anybody in your life that you're having an issue with, let's just call out their name and bless them to their highest and greatest good. If there's anybody you know that has a physical challenge, call out their name and let's know the perfection of spirit as them. Call their names out. Put them in prayer. Tammy and Todd. The power of prayer is so powerful. Every single Sunday, I called forth my son's name, and he had an illness that after calling forth his name week after week after week, he has found a way to control it and be healthy and harmonious. I never said I'm praying for you every week. I just knew the wholeness of spirit as him. So that's what we can do with people we disagree with. Know the spirit of light is within them. And whatever they do and whatever we do is part of the divine plan. So I know the fullness. I know the wholeness of each person whose name has been called. I accept greater good. Right now for each one of us. During the week, as we just take 2 minutes of each hour, if we can, to just sit and listen to our breathing, notice our breathing, stop our thinking, just notice the breath in and out, the breath of the divine. So I declare that all is in divine order. I bless each one of us to the highest and greatest good. And so I let it be. And as we say together, and so it is. Thank you, Sherry, so much. I love being in that temple. I'm going to have you repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening in me right now. Wonderful is happening in me right now. It is this thing called love. Is this thing called love. Love is in my body. Love is in my mind. Love is in everything I do. I receive it. I share it. I am it. I accept life just the way it is. Accept life just the way it is and just the way it is not. Just the way it is not. Thank you, divine presence of love. And so it is. Before our final song, I also want to thank Marcia Willman, who came and was my head bartender on Friday night. Thank you, Marcia. Along with Michelle Brown and Cindy Summers, they came and they all helped too. So, but thank you. And thank you for everybody who generously tipped our bartenders. And I want to thank Christine Blickham for coming back from Wyoming. And the bookstore is now open. And if you need a new mask, we have more masks in there and wonderful books. This is the time of the year. Get a book that you can just sit and devour and enjoy life. This is the time of the year that we stay inside and we read more. And get the book, The 3 Questions. Larry's talk last week was on the 3 questions. And we don't have it in our bookstore. We can't get it in time. So I use a local bookstore or Amazon, and you'll have it in a couple days from Amazon. And join us for the class on the 3 questions. Not this week, but the following Tuesday. It's going to be amazing. It'll be on Zoom, and we'll have a chance to ask questions and converse and talk and really get how do those 3 questions impact our life. Anyway, I love you. I'm so glad you're here. Remember to vote on Tuesday. If you haven't already, I will be going on Tuesday because I like being part of a crowd. And I am bringing my hand sanitizer and wearing my mask and enjoying life. I love you all. And know that whatever unfolds, we call it divine. We look for the good and we praise it. And now for Anna and Jared.
You guys ready to party? Okay, so this is a song that we'd like you guys to join us on. You know it, so get up and celebrate life. This is our chance. Our time is now. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All up in my house, all up in my house, I'm gonna let it shine. All up in my house, I'm gonna let it shine. All up in my house, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, you guys, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine.